Hi guys, today we're doing the second part of the mid-July garden walk tour, whatever you want to call it. This is the Rose Cottage Garden. So I also call it my Rose Alley because I go through arbors where I have climbing roses. I did switch out some roses this year. Some weren't performing the way I wanted them to, and some I wanted a different color in that spot. So the others got removed, pulled out, and if they weren't ones that performed well for me, I'm giving them away. I trial and error, and what works, works. What doesn't gets taken away or given away. So someone will enjoy it, even if it's not me. All right, let's do the Rose Alley Rose Cottage Garden tour and see what's going on there. And here is, I think this is Vintage Violet. I'm pretty sure I picked up one, and I think this is it. And it has been just a tremendous bloomer. It has been blooming for several weeks, and I love it. I did prop it up. It was flopping a little bit. So I've been cleaning out areas, and I've been sewing some annuals to fill in. Some more crazy daisies. Looks like I need to get in here and deadhead. There's some more bee balm or Monarda just blooming away. I am going to dig up, I think I'm going to dig up sooner than later the peonies if I get a chance. All depends on my time. And here is the tiny monster hardy geranium that I use as a ground cover along here. I think I'm going to carry it on further, like go ahead and carry it along up here as well. I think it just makes a pretty ground cover along the edge. So these daisies I let do their thing, even though they will tend to flop. Probably got too much water and or reaching for the sun, because you know what? The deer won't go past it to eat my roses. They seem to avoid the daisies here. And so, yeah, the one year that I decided, oh, I don't like the daisies, I mowed them back, and then all of a sudden my roses disappeared. So I knew it was the daisies that were keeping the deer from eating them. They like my roses. Oh, look at here. This is a panicle hydrangea, and it's starting to bloom. This one is, I'll have to remember. It is a proven winter selection. It's supposed to bloom earlier than many of the others, and it looks like it is. It looks like it is going to bloom earlier. It's supposed to turn a pretty pink. So we'll see how that works out. Another area I've cleaned out, I want to put a rose in here. I just have to get my cages ready to do and figure out which one. So Jupiter's beard doing great in here. It was just a fill in. Look at my feverfew, all needs to be trimmed back. It's going to seed, looking kind of mangy. And then down here. So that whole area right there is on, I have plans to clean that up. So yeah. Look at my pears on my pear tree. Get all the way up there. It's probably because our spring was pretty mild. I didn't get a hard freeze late in the season, as we typically do. Therefore, I actually got some fruit. Though one of the late snows really broke off a bunch of limbs, I probably would have had a lot more fruit. So here is my pink wave petunias. I put in each of these barrels, and they're just filling in beautifully. These were a 6-pack. I think I put 3 in each barrel. And the 6-pack at a local garden center or nursery, family-run nursery we have. Thankfully, we have it. And I picked it up for $7, so $3.50 each barrel. And I love one color of a plant. If I put anything with it, it would be white. And then I just love a massive color. Rather than having a busy scene, like a bunch of plants in here, I don't usually do the thriller, filler, spiller thing. I just like a beautiful feature plant, and yeah, it really catches the eye rather than overwhelming the brain with too much going on. So, oh, let me see. Here's my John Davis climbing rose. It's starting to bloom down here. I got to train it up onto the trellis better, but that trellis is just the cattle panel. This was a cut-off piece. See how the end is raw from my others, and so I just utilized it there. And once it's covered with roses, it won't matter that it's raw because you won't see it. You won't see that. Oh, look I have some volunteer hollyhocks over there. Look at those pretty pink ones. That was a good spot for them to come up. I've been trimming these off. They're too deeply rooted to dig up, so I just trim them off. I may let a couple of them come on up and they'll bloom shorter. But Rose Alley, I have replaced some of the non-performing roses with better roses. Look at this, is raspberry cream swirl or twirl. I'll have to find the tag. I am absolutely loving this color. And it's barely in the ground, not barely in the ground, it hasn't been in the ground very long. And it has been performing like crazy. And then this rose, isn't this gorgeous? This is the one I started from cuttings from my father-in-law's house. And yeah, just beautiful. This one's Super Dorothy. This is fading. It was a little darker, but isn't that interesting? The petals curl. I just find that so interesting. Another yarrow. Okay, over here, I said I was going to talk about this rose. This is the Dream Weaver, but you see how it's only blooming far up? I didn't prune back some of the main canes lower. I would have had roses lower if I would have pruned hard on some of them. So this coming fall, when I do a heavy prune back of my climbing roses, I'll make sure and prune some of the main canes shorter. Yep, and this is an arbor rose. This one is Kiss Me Kate. Yeah, and I've just planted this one here this spring. And then just recently, let me see how, this is my Jacqueline Dupree. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? That one's fading, but I just plopped this one in the ground just a few weeks ago, and it just has gone crazy already. I had New Dawn here, and I did not like how it was performing in my garden at all. I dug it up. It was a booger to dig up, but I did. And now this one, I am so thrilled already. So glad I made the change. And yeah, if something's not doing it for you, do not afraid to just dig it up. I have the rose in a pot. I'll probably give it away. Look at that one. That's Bosco Bell. I need to get in here and see. I started putting some of the mulch already. Here's another one of the Bushy Boys. This is where I originally had it, and I had to take divisions, divide it. And then I've been plopping them around, and it loves my garden, and therefore I love it because it just blooms like crazy. This one is Apple Blossom Carpet Rose. I love it. If I had not propped it up, it would be down here sprawling, and it would have roses all along as a ground cover. And I may go ahead and let it do that. I did the same thing with Quicksilver as I did with the Dreamweaver. I have all the blooms up top. Now, from my back deck where we sit, I can see those roses beautifully, but walking through, I don't get to enjoy them. So yeah, some of these main canes will get a hefty prune. This one is already putting out a new flower, so that one I will get a bloom here, and I'll make sure that I prune it more judiciously to get more flowers lower down. Here's my Biocco hardy geranium. This one has taken its time to bloom. I think maybe because we've had cooler weather. Also, it gets a little shade, and like these crazy daisies are leaning forward to reach for the sun, as well as I think they get a little bit too much water. And yeah, anyways, I'll deadhead it. Hopefully I get a rebloom. If not, you know what, this is a good spot to seed something. There's a bare spot right there. So I could, like, some cosmos. Yeah, that would be a good spot for some cosmos. And then I'll have some blooms in the fall. Here's a white Veronica. This is Limelight Prime. It looks like it's going to bloom earlier than the other one. The last couple of years, it hasn't. And so I was thinking, you know, what's so special about Limelight Prime? because my limelight always did better, but it looks like maybe this year it's going to do it. It's going to bloom earlier, which is one of the things it's purported to do. So these roses over here, they really struggled because of the cool June. They got a lot of black spot, but I'm trimming off the leaves and slowly it's reblooming. This, if you want a clematis that blooms a long, long time, Arabella. This one just keeps on blooming. I do deadhead it whenever I see like a seed pod starting to develop. But so far, it just keeps putting on more blooms. And this has bloomed for several weeks. So it's a winner in my book. And you know what? This is the only trellis or arbor with roses that I don't have a clematis. So I'm debating on which one maybe that's where I'll put that étoile de Violet. That's the one that's on the front arbor with the Eden rose. That would be a beautiful one there, wouldn't it? Okay, I'm filling a barrel. I'm thinking I'm going to put a rose in there, and yeah, it'll protect it from the gophers. Look at my love song. Isn't that doing gorgeous? My Violet's Pride is down there. It's just getting started. It's already bloomed a little bit, so it doesn't mind it sharing. This is one of my favorite. This is Jubilee Celebration, one of my favorite David Austin roses because of its habit of reblooming. And yeah, the gophers have been really bad in this bed, so I'm going to get my spray out and make sure to spray the ground really well. It's a castor oil spray. There's also pellets you can buy or granules that you can spread around. So yeah, a lot of the iris. Now, the only reason I haven't cut these iris back is I wanted to look at my video. There's certain colors I wanted to pull out of here and to identify them. And it helps me to identify them if I leave the stalks in place, so I can kind of see what they're next to. And then, yeah. It's been 6 weeks since they've bloomed, so that means I've left the leaves long until after that period so they could absorb as much light to build or create more food in the rhizomes themselves for next year's bloom. Now these ones I've cut back. Now you'll notice I do not have the typical V shape. I just go in and trim them. It is not necessary to trim the leaves in any certain shape. And yeah, you just cut them off the best you can. Oh, this is my Charlie Brown clematis. I need to give it a good deadhead. It will continue to bloom as well if I give it a good deadhead. So my fairy rose. And then this one over here is baby blanket. So very lovely. Very lovely. Oh, my cat's pajamas Nepeta still going strong. You see there's the center is putting up new growth. And then I've just left these. The bees have been loving them even though they flopped a little bit. So I'm not too worried about that. And it was just because the misters that I have on them, it sprays them, it makes them heavy, and they'll weigh them down. But the misters in my garden really help with the spider mites. So I just got to remember to go spray that other plant with my organic spray. This is Safari Rose. This is a most gorgeous rose. It has a coral color that is so vibrant. Oh, look at this rose. This is Excelsior. Isn't that beautiful? I have another one that's similar to this. It's called Minnehaha. So I'm going to get that in the ground soon. Here's Queen of Sweden, blooming beautifully. My Crown Princess Margareta, I'm going to have to prune it, give it a good, well, it's got new growth coming on it because I did try to get in here and prune it as best as possible. And yeah, it'll rebloom. I've been collecting seeds of these columbines. These were the ones that were blue and pink that had the real ruffly look to them. I just loved them. So this is my Grandpa Newt rose. Look how beautifully it's blooming. And then here, this one is a Florentina. And this is an arbor rose too, just like my Quicksilver and the Tangerine Skies. And I have been very impressed with the arbor rose climbing roses as far as rebloom, health, and vigor. It's just, they do tremendously well in my garden. So, yeah. Over here, my sunblaze roses, which I love, and I'm going to show you something. You see how loose that is? That shouldn't be that loose from rocking in the bottom. That tells me the gophers have been eating on it. So definitely going to be putting down my deterrent spray. And for some reason, that rose cane decided to go that way. I'll probably just cut it off. But look at my dragon fruit. I love that color. So yeah, beautiful. Up here, I don't think we noticed earlier. This is Albertine rose, by the way. It's a one-time bloomer in the spring, very vigorous. It's an old selection. And it blooms so wonderfully in the spring. But as you can see, it just goes crazy. Anyways, I have some rose campion here. This is the Oculata, which it's really white with a pink center. Snapdragons go into seed, but there's my Hyde Hall roses. I think I'm going to cut back and move this Cerise Queen Yarrow because it kind of is obscuring the rose. I could put it somewhere else. And yeah, it'll do beautiful olive row. Probably the Monarda will also probably get moved here. Oh, I see an echinacea that's actually made it past the gophers. They love echinacea, fair warning. So, yeah, just some beautiful things. There's also some more foxgloves that are reseeded. Those will bloom next spring. I just let them do their thing. So now to get out of here, I guess I'll go around. You know what I have? Oh, look at the gladiolas. I have a bag of the corms. I need to get planted, so that's on my list today before it heats up. So I better hurry up and get this done. So, okay, let me go around my arbor bench. So over here, the liatris is starting to bloom. Oh, my shadow's in there. The liatris, isn't that beautiful? Also known as gay feather. This is not the one that'll spread by seed. It only spreads by the underground corms. And I bought the corms, I think, at Costco in a bag. So here's another one of those roses. I didn't cut back. I wanted to see how tall it got. So I don't have blooms down here. But they're all up there. So word to the wise, give them the prune they need. So you get roses down where you can enjoy them as well as up high. So beautiful. There's some purple rooster Monarda. I wonder if this light is too glaring. I may have to redo this part because of the sun coming through. But the Demitasse, look at that rose. That is just growing like crazy. Some more of my crazy daisies. You see how different these ones are? The long, loose petals. They've already been deadheading because they're already going to seed. It's been very hot. Now, sometimes flowers will go to seed faster when it gets really hot because that's their cue to reproduce. So I'm trying to deadhead and maybe get another bloom. So here's an example. One of those Sahara mix Rudbeckias I sowed from the seeds I collected. And you see how it's not the creamy, soft color. They must have cross-pollinated. And yeah, so I'm getting a regular one. Here, look at this phlox. I didn't remember planting this here, but I did. And I love it here. This little quarter barrel I filled with my red geraniums. And so they're doing quite well. This is my bear's breech. Now, it is kind of struggling this year because when I had to prune back my pear tree, it gets a lot more sun. This usually likes the shade. I have not gotten flowers. I don't think I have a long enough growing season, and it really doesn't like my winter. So, yeah, it's in a barrel, so it cannot go anywhere. I haven't seen it reseed because I don't get a flower. Maybe I will this year. We'll see. Because I know a lot of people will say, no, never plant that. It'll take over. Mine won't because it doesn't flower. And that's how it spreads from my knowledge. Look at this Japanese maple. This is one that broke off. See, there was another limb right there, and it made it even instead of one-sided. And in the late snows, it got busted off. Alrighty. Yeah, if you're still here after that walk, I wanted to say that one viewer, who she was very complimentary, don't get me wrong, was saying how my gardens are a bit on the wild side, willy-nilly, unkempt. And she loved it because it made her feel good about where she's at in her garden. That is what I'm here to say. This channel is not about a picture-perfect garden or it being done. I'm always trialing things. I'm always removing things. I'm changing things up because I garden not for this YouTube channel. I garden for me. This is my outlet. It is not my life. I know some gardening channels, that is their life, and everything is focused on that. And that's great. They have beautiful channels. But here, I just share what I'm doing. I want the garden not to be my job, because then you kind of are no longer using it as an outlet for your life, for the stresses of life. I want to have time. I want to have time for my friends. I have a couple of friends. One, I help her with her cleaning business because she's got to go through surgery and whatever, and she needs to keep these cleaning jobs. And yeah, if I can help her do that, that's great. I love having the ability to have time to help my friends. Then I have another friend who's starting up a paint party business. And I paint. If you've been over to my Pamela Gropey Art, you know I paint. I give lessons. And so I'm helping her to launch that by helping her do some of the parties that she's doing. And, you know, we bounce things off of each other, etc. So I love having the time to do that. If YouTube was my full-time job, I wouldn't have time for that. And it's very important at this stage of my life, I'm 63, to have those options available. I was just watching another YouTuber, and they just bought a big piece of property that they're going to start from scratch and revamp. Those channels are really fun to watch. And sometimes I think, oh, I'd like to do that. But you know what? If I did that, I don't have help. So it would take all of my time. And do I have the strength? Do I have the time? Do I really want to be all in? And at this point in my life, I like having the ability to say, you know, today I want to go paint all day, or I'm going to go to my friends and we're going to go swimming, and something like that. I love having the freedom. And those that put out, especially if they put out videos every day, that is what you are doing all the time. They probably love it, and that's great too. But I'm just explaining to you why my gardens are not comparable. How's that? And it's all okay. And also, my gardens reflect more of what's real in most people's life, because most people have a job. They have other responsibilities and things like that. And I wanted you to know from this, you can derive a lot of pleasure from your gardens without it being your full-time job. And even if it's a little messy, or you've got projects that are undone, or when it is your relaxation, you will have where you can go out for 10 and 15 minutes to get away from your desk, then you're not always able to put all your tools away. You're not able. You may be spreading mulch. You don't get it all done in one day. So I'm just telling you that that's okay. You don't have to have a finished garden to enjoy gardening. So that speech was a little bit longer than I intended, but I just wanted to express that for a lot of people, especially if you're maturing like me, getting up there, and you have a lot of, I would say, things you like to do. And you know what? Slowing down and going at your pace, all of that. I watch a channel, and it's all about she's maturing, she's slowing down, and embracing a slow life. I want you to embrace a slow garden life as well, if that's where you are in the stream of your gardening journey, or if you're just starting at a mature age. You're not going to be able to keep up with people who have help, who, get sent products, who, all of the above. Those things are great, but it's not everybody's reality. So I want you to accept where you're at in your gardening journey and just enjoy. All right. I will see you in my next video, which is going to be the secret cottage garden and what's going on there in mid-July.